All right, so we want to give you guys another little update on our R2T build here. We're in the midst of assembly in probably another 3 days or so. The car should be running and driving. We've got some testing planned for next week with Dave, the owner. And so first step of assembly, once the car was back from the painter, was to start laying in some of the wiring harness, all the plumbing for the brake lines, the fuel, the fire system, get all that stuff laid in first, and then everything else kind of goes in on top of that. So to put that stuff in, we had holes pre-drilled for little wire tie saddles, and then you just use zip ties to kind of tie all that stuff in. And you want to kind of get that out of the way first, because you get a lot of parts that are bolted in or installed on top of that stuff, and it would be a lot more difficult to put that in after. So that's sort of the first step in it. One little tip, and I don't know if I have a pair around here, but when you're putting the zip ties in, you can buy really sharp little cutters that won't leave a little jagged tip that you'll cut yourself on with the zip ties. That's kind of a nice thing to make sure you do, is cut those nice and flush. As you'll typically find, you'll use a lot of zip ties to hold stuff in. Other stuff that we've got that's gone in since we did a video last was we've got an onboard fire system here, and also the handheld fire bottle. In the back there, we've relocated our battery and our washer fluid bottle. The normal spot for the washer fluid bottle up in that left front corner behind the bumper is kind of prone to damage, so we move that inside as well. In the back of the car, we've got a bunch more things that have gone in. So the fuel cell is in. You can kind of see where the fuel fill port and the outlet from the fuel pump is up there. Fuel vent line comes up here through a rollover valve and goes up underneath the car. Other items we've got started to go in, a little bracket for the med kit, space for spare tires, a jack, an impactor over there. So starting to get some of the other stuff that's needed in a rally car, with various ways that we've got those mounted in the vehicle. Other items as we kind of keep moving around here, we've got a lot of the extra controls that we talked about in the wiring portion. That switch panel there will control all that. We've got our hydraulic handbrake here, shifter up here, and then underneath the dash a bunch of stuff has obviously gone in. So a lot of wiring under the dash. We've also got a different heater core box, so you're obviously going to need heat if you're going to do any winter events. You can also use that to defrost the windshield. So what we've got, instead of the standard heater core, which doesn't really fit with the R2 cage, it's basically just an oil cooler. It's got coolant running through it with a little inline blower fan, and that's hooked up to the stock outlet on the dash. So we've got kind of half the dashboard in at the moment. Other things, little display here. So that'll be a replacement for your stock display in this car. It's got speed and gear and tack and your fuel pressure, coolant temperature, stuff like that on that. And then some other items. We don't have our co-driver's footrest in yet, but a little footrest for the driver. So dead pedal, just kind of a little bit more comfortable to have something there after you've taken all the carpet and stuff out, so your feet are more at a normal height where they would be in a road car that's got sound deadening and insulation and carpet and everything. Probably where the most stuff has gone on is up here in the front. So we've got suspension and brakes in the car. Started to put some body panels on. Obviously the engine and the transmission are in, and so quite a few changes on the R2 compared to a regular 1 liter Fiesta. So the motor, got all the internals changed, but also external, you can see there's a much bigger intercooler, bigger radiator, different intake plumbing obviously to accommodate the intercooler. Turbo is the same, but the exhaust gets rerouted, so instead of going under the motor, it's going over the transmission and then down out the back of the car. And so with a lot of that too, there's a decent amount of kind of heat management that has to go on. So like the exhaust is wrapped in this heat shielding. Some of the stuff that goes close to the exhaust has various kinds of heat shielding on it, whether it's this like reflective, either the gold or the silver film, or like some of the wiring has a kind of that heat shield on it. Different type down here. So stuff you want to think about if you've got stuff that's going to be next to a really hot item, you might want to think about shielding it a little bit. And this even, to keep it simple as far as the wiring, we keep the ECU stays in the same spot roughly that it would normally be, so that you're not changing the wiring loom too much. But that does leave it in the engine bay, which is kind of hot. So we get this box that the ECU lives in, and it's going to have a little hose that'll hook through the grill to feed that ECU nice cool air so it doesn't overheat. Other items, the bumper's been modified to have mounts for your lights, place for a tow hook, stuff like that. We've got these little brackets that are going to hold our hood pins in. Skid plate started to go on. You can see over here and there we've got different wheel well liners. So instead of the stock wheel well liners, some plastic pieces, and they're a little bit, hold up a little bit better. Also mounting them better. The stock ones would be held in with little plastic clips. Those tend to just break, and then your wheel well liners fall out, and you end up with a lot of mud getting up into the engine bay and stuff. On this side, you can see one of the biggest things though is we've got a slightly wider fender on this car, which helps with wheel clearance. So you're not having your wheel hit the fender. So that modified fender liner actually comes out and touches this, whereas the stock one would sit in a couple inches and leave a big gap there that's going to pack full of mud. Other than that, kind of after this, we've got to put doors and stuff on. Still going to put all the underbody on the car, mud flaps, stuff like that. But then that's pretty much it. And like I said, it should be a running, driving car in just a few days.